Welcome, everyone. I'm Ken Lutchen, Dean of the College of Engineering here at Boston University. I'm thrilled to have a chance to host you during your virtual visit and to give you a deeper sense of what Boston University is like, what the College of Engineering at BU is like, and what the engineering profession needs to be like as we look into the future. But first, let me send my best wishes that you and your family and loved ones and your friends have navigated the COVID-19 pandemic with minimum impact on your health, and that you've been safe as we come out of this pandemic and vaccinations get distributed. I thought I'd spend a minute or two telling you about how the COVID-19 crisis has impacted Boston University this year. Like most academic institutions, it's been a very challenging year, but we've done as well as can be expected in many ways. For example, two of our engineering faculty stood up one of the most extensive, impressive COVID-19 testing facilities on our campus here at BU, allowing us to do 5,000 to 6,000 COVID-19 tests a day, every student getting tested 3 times a week, every faculty and staff twice a week at very low cost, so that we've had a positivity rate of no bigger than 0.22%. This is transitioned to allow us to do learning from anywhere, where students who come to campus, and over 70% of our students move back on campus to live in the dorms and so forth, we're able to go to lectures live every other lecture at least. And it turns out that well over 90% enrolled as students, so that the BU community did not let the COVID-19 crisis put their careers and academic aspirations on hold. Let me further point out that, most important, it's our plan to fully open in the fall, to have a residential experience once again, which is critical for the role of education on your lives, as I think I will tell you as the talk and presentation goes on. So, with that, coming here live in the fall, let's talk about you at Boston University and the College of Engineering. First and foremost, you will be a student of Boston University and eventually an alum of Boston University. We are a world-class liberal arts and professional education institute in an urban environment. We're a major research university. Now, I can think of no field other than engineering where being a major research university is critical. Our faculty are working on the cutting edge of their fields, and we want our students exposed to that. We always say we want our students to understand and learn what our faculty are doing, not just what they knew when they graduated from their PhDs. We're an international university with a diverse student body, and that's, again, extremely important for the field of engineering, where most companies have a huge global footprint, where innovation occurs all over the globe and is different depending on where you are. Now, if you come to Boston University, you will meet student colleagues and have an opportunity to take courses in areas like the performing arts, business, law, medicine, engineering, religion, philosophy, health and natural sciences, politics, and so on and so forth. Now, at first you might say, well, that's obvious, isn't it? And the answer is not so obvious. You're coming to Boston, the mecca of college education, so many universities and colleges. So how many have an engineering school, a college of fine arts, a business school, a law school, a medical school, and an education school? And the answer is 1, Boston University. And that's only 6 of our 15 professional schools. Why is that important? This is a complex world. And when you leave here, you need to and want to be comfortable and excited to work with people and interact with people from all backgrounds, with all different kinds of interest. And so you are coming out of high school as a young adult living at home, transitioning to be a more mature adult living on your own. And so the next 4 years is not a time to surround yourself with like-minded people and only other engineers, but to really experience and interact with people with all these different interests and goals in life. Now, let's talk about why go to college. And imagine I said to you, you've got 5 seconds. Why do you want to go to college? Many of you would say, well, I want to get a degree and I want to get my first job. And there's nothing wrong with that answer. But think about it just a little bit longer and you'll realize, oh, every college has to be able to do that. If the college you're thinking of going to doesn't do that well, you better not go there. We do that well. But when you think about it a little more deeply, what you're really looking for is a college which gets that degree into you, but also provides you with a foundation and a passion and a confidence for lifelong learning and lifelong success skills, no matter where your career might take you. And this is the difference between a degree and an education. Now, what about engineering? Why would you want to go to engineering? Well, my guess is you were pretty good at math and science in high school. If you were really bad at math and science or don't like them, you shouldn't be listening to me right now. But assuming you are, let's ask why engineering. Well, you want to create, you want to invent. Like you use a brush and you use paint as an artist, you want to use math and science. You want to understand. Society depends on technology. And as an engineer, you will never again be intimidated by technology. You'll understand how it might work. That gives you a great advantage when you start pursuing leadership opportunities in organizations. You want to innovate and integrate, do lifelong learning, and you want to impact and galvanize organizations and society. In the early 2000s, the National Academy of Engineering put out a report called Rising Above the Gathering Storm. And this report said that the United States is at risk of losing its leadership and innovation because the rest of the world was starting to put out huge numbers of engineers, hundreds of thousands of engineers. But then as we looked at this deeper, we realized we're not going to compete on numbers. We don't have the capacity in this country. But what we can compete on and lead on for years and years to come is the kind of engineer we create. Because what's embedded in the DNA of our country is creating engineers that have a driving passion for innovation and entrepreneurship. And these are the ones that will lead organizations going forward. A few years back, the Wall Street Journal did a huge survey, and it asked, what are the main experiences and parts of a college education that led to people's sense of well-being and success later on in life? And the results of that survey were interesting. It was not necessarily the institution you went to. It was not necessarily the grades you got, although you should all aspire to get good grades. It ended up being the most important thing was the kinds of experiences you had outside the classroom with organizations and community, and whether you developed strong mentoring relationships with faculty outside the classroom. Now, the reason this was so exciting to hear from us was that just 3 years earlier, we had rolled out the fundamental philosophy guiding what we're trying to do as a College of Engineering. And that philosophy is creating the societal engineer. It's, yes, trademarked by the U.S. Patent Office. The societal engineer is an individual who uses their engineering foundation with additional attributes in order to advance society and our quality of life. And they do this by embracing and succeeding in any career path they want and by working with people from all disciplines because they're comfortable doing that. Shown on this slide is all students and our faculty. In the upper right is a student developing technologies for world health. On the bottom right is a faculty about to distribute to society, about to become a product, the bionic pancreas for people with diabetes. You wear it and never have to put in what you eat. In the middle on the bottom is a student developing technologies for water distribution in a low-resource community in Peru. And on the bottom left is a student working to develop technologies for energy efficiency in urban environments. These are societal engineers. But what about going forward? What are the grand challenges that society faces when you look forward? And I've just listed a few of them here. For example, energy, sustainability, and climate change. Perhaps the single biggest challenge society faces long term. In fact, it's not even that long term. The engineer of the future cannot be one to just develop a new technology for a new energy source. For example, engineers invented and know how to create solar panels many, many years ago. The challenge to society is to create solar energy that's economical and distributed and makes an impact. So the future engineer has to not just invent a solar panel, but figure out how to make it so it's affordable, so it could be installed, so it could be distributed, so that people will want to buy it and install it. What are the incentives, the public policy issues? And so that we can store that energy. And you can see the next generation of engineers have to be multidimensional in the people they interact with and how they approach their innovation. We can continue down the list. Healthcare is critical, obviously, in areas like infectious diseases, gene editing to wipe out single gene diseases, chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease, and of course, technologies that can lower the cost and improve quality of life for healthcare. We've got to make transformational impact on cognition and neuroscience, or else degenerative nerve diseases, particularly Alzheimer's and dementia, are going to be the plague on society. Autonomous systems are going to be everywhere you are in the world, whether it's autonomous cars or even wearables and transformational disruptive ways in digital medicine to lower costs and catch things earlier. population is going to grow. They're going to cluster around urban environments. Urbanization, how these environments function from an efficiency point of view, and how aging population is taken care of and connected is important. And of course, we need secure systems for a connected society. What's an overriding theme here is not one of these challenges, not a single one can be met by an engineer from a single discipline. We've got to figure out how to educate engineers exposed to multiple disciplines. Now, let me pause here for just a moment. Healthcare, infectious diseases. We are coming out of the world pandemic, perhaps the single most traumatic and dangerous event the entire planet has ever faced in an acute fashion. And we're coming out of it, probably successfully, because of the heroic efforts of engineers working with life scientists, whether it was new detection technologies or deploying robots at massive scale to do testing in gigantic amounts fast, or whether it's novel and ways to manufacture vaccines, even engineer new vaccines at a scale never before imaginable, or understanding the disease's transmission using complex models of the immune system, and so on. And so we see the next societal engineers have huge challenges that they can meet when they work together. So the key is the era of needing only the narrow discipline engineer is over if you want to work on society's big challenges. So, how do we define the societal engineer? What is this engineer wired for the future? Well, first, it's an engineer which has solid engineering fundamentals, grounded in a chosen discipline, but substantive exposure to multiple disciplines and the digital world, because the massive amount of innovations that were going to happen in the society will be driven by huge amounts of data, which we can now sample from anywhere. We have to have engineers that have great quantitative and statistical and creative problem solving. That's your engineering foundation. But you need other attributes to be the societal engineer. You've got to develop great communication skills. That is, interacting with and communicating not just with other engineers, marketing people, business people, community leaders, and so on. You've got to feel comfortable. In fact, you've got to want to work on cross-functional teams, people from marketing, the community, people from a diverse set of backgrounds, where innovation is products for everyone, not just for the people that designed it. Global awareness, because of what I mentioned earlier, and technologies impacting all of the world, and innovation being different depending on where you are in the world. You've got to appreciate the role of culture and humanities in a fulfilling life. If the human species had never evolved, the laws of physics and the laws of nature would still be exactly the ones they are right now. But we are the only species that enjoys a book, or going to a play, or music, or dance, and so on and so forth. These are things that lead to a fulfilling life, and meet and interact with people that like them too. You don't just be an engineer without these kinds of interests. You've got to have an innovation mindset. How does innovation work? What's the difference between inventing something or creating one of something and a product that society wants to buy? What's the business way in which companies do this? We have programs to get you to know that now. You've got to understand product design for deployment and all the technologies that go into going from a concept of a design all the way to large-scale numbers of products coming out the back end. We want you to have a capacity to abstract across disciplines because of these society challenges. We want you to be responsible and feel a desire to actually stimulate the next generation of citizens to go into engineering, particularly broadening participation in engineering. And when you do all these things, you develop a social consciousness where you not only just create new products, you don't just create new engineering jobs, you create all kinds of jobs that add to the economy and quality of life of people. Administrators, accountants, lawyers, business people, and so on. These are all the things you're doing as a societal engineer. So how do we get you all these attributes? Well, we do it through innovative curriculum, through really well thought out experiential opportunities, and through getting you to learn engineering using cutting edge, world-class, hands-on facilities. So let's show you some of those. We have a 15,000 square foot cutting edge engineering product innovation center called EPIC. This is a massive makerspace with small end and the highest expensive 3D printers, computer-aided design, laser cutters, design suites, and so on. And we didn't just create this facility for you to play in or to take courses in, which you'll do both of. We created it in partnership with major product development companies. They're listed on the bottom there. Because we don't make products, we make people. So these companies, what do? They tell us what are the skill sets and the technologies that need to be in EPIC so that when our students graduate, they are most valuable to be on the cutting edge of what these companies need for new product development. This is a unique model. Now, as big as EPIC is, we also have a huge biomedical engineering department. And as a consequence, we just opened last April a sister facility called the Bioengineering Technology and Entrepreneurship Center, BTech, 5,000 square feet. It has a biosensor and instrumentation suite. It has a molecular, cellular, and tissue engineering suite, and a digital and predictive medicine suite where students can play with the huge amounts of data coming in from wearables, from imaging, from genomics, and transform how we diagnose and treat people using big data. And again, like EPIC, we partner with companies. There are 6 major companies on the board. They're listed there in the bottom right. And they help us make sure our bioengineers have the right skill sets that are most valuable to them. And you'll see some major companies there, including Pfizer, for example, the major player in the vaccines that's going to get us out of the COVID crisis. Now, that's the hands-on facilities. What about the degree in innovative curricula? Well, you'll get a degree in one of 3 departments, 4 major areas: biomedical, computer and electrical, and or mechanical engineering. The mechanical engineering comes in 2 flavors: mechanical engineering by itself, or mechanical with an aerospace concentration. We also have these additional concentrations that you have access to. So, for example, energy technologies. If you take 3 of your electives in energy technologies, you'll get a degree in biomedical or electrical or computer or mechanical with a concentration in energy technologies. And the key here is that all of these are ubiquitous, in the sense that if you take a course in one of them and decide you don't want to take the remaining electives in that one, you'll be okay, because that course still counts to any one of our degrees. So we have them in manufacturing and nanotechnology. The one in technology innovation is particularly interesting because it's a partnership with engineering and the business school, where you take courses in the business school which teach you how companies take ideas and either successfully or unsuccessfully convert them to products from a business point of view. One of our most popular concentrations. And then, how do we prepare you for this digitally driven society? Well, we have embedded data science and machine learning all throughout the College of Engineering. The first engineering school in the country, I believe, to do this, and maybe one of the first ones that are still doing it this way, in the sense that when every single engineering student, regardless of their major, will take a required course in Introduction to Engineering Statistics and Data Science and Machine Learning. And then, later on, you'll have access to electives which apply this to society, like Introduction to Robotics, like Smart and Connected Systems, the IoT, the Internet of Things, medical robotics, and so on. So you can come out getting exposed and being in courses at the upper level at this intersection of data and technology, regardless of your major, and the students in those courses come from all the majors. Very exciting. Now, in addition to the innovative curriculum, we've got to get you out there. Experiential opportunities, things that you develop these other attributes of the societal engineer. So you can be an undergraduate research assistant in a faculty lab. That's a paid position during the school year or during the summer, doing real research, getting your name in abstracts, going to scientific conferences. We fund hundreds of these students during the academic year. They're paid positions. But in the summer, we also fund about 60 of these on average, and we pay for the housing of students that get job offers over the summer. These funds for these come from alumni donations. It's such a great experience. You can do a co-op, a traditional co-op or internship with a company. You can be part of our Technology Inspiration Scholars Program, where we train you to be an ambassador and go back into high school, middle school, and grade school and describe what is engineering, impassion them to think of it as a career path for lifelong impact on society. Mentor their first robotics team if you want. Get involved with the Lego team if you want. Bring an innovation in the box if you want. Very exciting program. We have the Sing Imagineering Lab, where it's just like EPIC, except there's no courses in there. You can only use it to innovate. You can't do homework in there. You can just take part in design contests and so forth. You can get involved in service learning. We have a national chapter of the Engineers Without Borders, or Global Health, where you develop technologies and you go to these places like Peru, like Nicaragua, and so forth, and you apply the technologies to those societies. You can do study abroad, such as in Australia or Spain. We have one of the largest study abroad programs in the country. Now, these study abroad programs, of course, had to be shut down last year and did not function this year, but we are planning to ramp them up as soon as society and the pandemic will allow us to do that. But these are very, very popular. Our students love these programs. And my daughters did study abroad, and they loved their program, every moment of it, in fact. They're not for everyone. Some people, like my son, is a homebody. He would have done study abroad if it was in Brookline, but he didn't do that. Now, every engineering student in the country has to do a year-long senior capstone experience. We have an extraordinary program here where you work on an independent project, interacting with a customer or faculty or company or hospital, whatever it might be. Examples of ones are shown here. On the top right's a student which figured out how to use the signal from an MRI machine to drive a cursor on a computer by thinking certain letters or certain directions using the signal that lights up in the brain. On the bottom right are students that designed a pulse oximeter for a low-resource, poor community, third world country, to quickly identify children at risk of pneumonia rather than let them go away and maybe have to find them again if they're diagnosed with such. And the trick to here was developing it so it would stay effective as time went on. So they used not traditional batteries, but cell phone batteries, which could be charged by solar cells in the batteries. Terrific, very innovative idea. And the students on the left know they did not design a trash can with the words Boston University on it. They figured out that the carbon footprint of trash collecting trucks is huge. And so they put sensors in the garbage, in the trash cans, so that the trash trucks can figure out when they have to stop and when they don't have to stop, saving a huge amounts of fuel for the community. That's cost fuel, and they lowered their carbon footprint. So now what happens at the end? At the end, you think about what are you going to do in life. Now, let me point out something right here. We don't know when you walk in the door what you're going to want to do 4 years later. Are you going to want to get your first job? Got you covered. Are you going to want to go to grad school for a PhD or a master's? Are you going to want to go to business school? Are you going to want to go to medical school or law school? We don't know what you'll want to do right then or what you'll want to do later in life. So we design all of these possibilities so that we keep your options open and you find your way. If the only thing we did, if our own mission was to say, get the degree, get your first job, that's it, we wouldn't offer all this stuff. We would just offer a co-op and your degree program. But we've added all these things so you can pursue what's right for you. So how do you succeed if you want to look for that job? We've got a great career planning and mentoring program. It starts out engaging you as you walk in the door as freshmen, getting you to understand how to develop that resume, how to look and interact with our career affairs that many companies come to, how to interview, how to look for a job, how to navigate that look, how to even write those cover letters and so on, all the way through your senior year trying to place you. Over 90% of our students receive jobs within 6 months of graduating. And those are the students that coming right out and get employed. What about long-term? How are our graduates doing? Well, let's look at the recent 2020 top universities in the United States for graduate employability by the Times of Higher Education. It just came out. And here's the top 20 schools, and we are 14th in graduate employability. Boston University is, amongst some of the world's most prestigious and revered institutions. We got you covered for the first job. And then, as you go on in life, you'll become leaders. Here are some examples of those leaders. People who lead in the biomedical industry, in the computer industry, in the communications industry, in the defense industries, in the computer companies and information exchange companies, more. We have NASA and aerospace industries. We have consulting firms and business careers. And we have media. In virtually every field you can think of, Boston University achieve leadership positions as they go through their professional lives. So, let me say it's been a privilege to have a chance to talk to you about our engineering school, talk to you about Boston University, talk about engineers and engineering as it needs to impact society and the kinds of engineers that society needs for the future. If you're listening to this, you had great grades. You did well on the board scores if you took those board scores. You may think that's why you were admitted to BU, and you certainly ended up in the top 15, 20% of your graduating class. But it's more than that. I can guarantee you there were many applicants with your stats that were not accepted to Boston University's engineering school. This was the most selective year we've ever had. If you're listening to this, we selected you because you had not only the grades, but you looked like your portfolio matched well to what we were trying to do, to create the societal engineers for the future, to live fulfilling lives and improve other people's lives. And so I thank you, I congratulate you as you think of this decision you have to make. It's a tough one if you're thinking of between us and many other schools. It's a good decision to have. But you're going to make the right decision because it's your decision. And the only thing I'll guarantee you is if you choose to come to Boston University, 4 years from now, you're going to say, wow, that was a great decision. Thank you again. Congratulations, and stay safe.